What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Life's a Garden. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe and follow on all platforms, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, anywhere you can get your podcasts. Help grow this garden and get the word out. Today's positive motivational message is don't live with regret. All of us have done regrettable things in our past. Things that we wish we hadn't done, and in some cases, things we wish we would have done that we didn't seize the opportunity of. And we hold regret for those things. Rather than beat yourself up about it and feel bad about yourself or feel stupid for things that you've done, learn from those mistakes. Learn from the regret. And in any instance where maybe something you've done was hurtful to somebody else, make amends for it. Don't just dwell on it. Don't let that poison you and make you feel bad about yourself or bad about your choices, things that you, like I said, have done and maybe haven't done. You can learn from that and help make yourself a better person altogether. With that, let's go ahead and get into today's episode. That's one thing I will not regret, is going on to a new episode. It's episode 238 of Life's a Garden. All right, welcome back. Coming at you a day later than normal, coming here on a Tuesday, because I wanted to wait to record this episode so I could give you my Super Bowl reaction. Super Bowl Sunday was this past weekend. I would have done it that night after the Super Bowl, but I was in no shape to do that whatsoever. I may have gotten a little intoxicated, both out of pure joy and pure stupidity. Speaking of regrets, bro, I mean, God, I woke up this morning like, you start drinking, you start saying dumb shit, and I didn't do anything that bad, but just saying dumb shit, doing dumb shit, for no reason, just because your inhibitions are lowered. So, I'm sitting there rolling my eyes, thinking about some of the dumb things I said or did. But then you just gotta let it wash over and be like, hey, that's not the real me, first of all. That's an intoxicated version of me. But it does make you think, like, hey, maybe you don't gotta go that hard. It was a special occasion, so I don't regret it. We had fun, things got a little out of hand, and here we are today doing just fine. So, the game. Actually, before I get into the actual game itself and my thoughts on the Super Bowl, this was the first time since the Steelers-Packers Super Bowl. I don't remember which Super Bowl that was. Like, maybe 40 or something like that? 44? I don't remember exactly. This is the first time since then that I've watched the Super Bowl at a bar. Only twice in my entire life have I watched the Super Bowl at a bar. Was not my original plan, was not my original intent to do so. Normally, me and Mac, my friend Mac, will have a Super Bowl party, usually at his house. He's got a nice big house. Easy to accommodate at a place like that. And that was the plan. But as the week was going on, it seemed like less and less people were committing to doing it. And it just felt like, first of all, I was already completely not psyched about this Super Bowl at all. Two teams I really don't like all that much. One that I really don't like. And the thought of watching the Chiefs win their third Super Bowl in a row just didn't have me as excited and pumped up to watch the Super Bowl. The combination of that and just not knowing if we were even going to have a lot of people, if it was just going to be me and Mac watching the game with his family, which doesn't sound bad at all, but it's just like, I don't know. And speaking of regrets, do I regret not going? A little bit. I broke tradition. I felt bad about that. But like I said, my enthusiasm just wasn't in it. My heart wasn't in it this year. So it wouldn't have even been all that fun for anybody anyway, in that sense. So I made the decision to just go watch the game at Hooligans, where I knew there was going to be at least a few other people there that I'd be able to hang out with. My brother ended up coming out, so it was cool to get to hang out with him for the game. Aaron, my cousin Aaron, was working at the Crystal, so I was kind of bouncing back and forth between the two of them just to see everybody. I did end up making a little bit of food and took it over to the Crystal for everybody to enjoy. That was fun. That's one thing I do like about the Super Bowl is preparing food, making little appetizers. We just did some smokies and some jalapeno poppers. But, that's just a fun little thing I like to do because I don't really cook all that much in my spare time. So when I get the opportunity to make something that I am proud of and I know people will enjoy, it's satisfying. So that's a fun aspect. And I didn't want to lose that, I didn't want to miss out on that by not going to Max. So I still made some food, took it over to the Crystal. And it was pretty busy, man. I didn't expect it to be all that busy. Usually people are doing house parties for the Super Bowl, but apparently not everybody. And one thing I will say that was nice that Hooligans did was they had raffles. They had drawings and things like that for people to, you're getting a ticket, and so they're drawing your number for prizes throughout the night. I ended up winning a beer glass and a t-shirt. They had some pretty cool prizes too, like a couple coolers and things like that. So that part was fun. That was just a little extra fun thing. Had my name on a bunch of football boards. Didn't win any. Didn't win any of my bets that I placed. Surprise, surprise. But okay, the game itself, right? Absolutely not what I was expecting at all. It was 100% what I was hoping for. I got exactly the result I wanted. Not only did the Eagles win, but they destroyed the Chiefs. Now, as I mentioned, I did have a few beverages throughout the day. It was mostly shots. People just buying shots. I was like, geez, man, these are going to catch up with me. So, aspects of the game were a little fuzzy for me this morning. So I did go back and rewatch all the highlights. Totally didn't realize the Chiefs hadn't scored their first touchdown until late in the third quarter. I remembered it was a shutout at halftime. It was 24-0 at halftime. Didn't expect that at all. And then, like I said, they didn't score their first touchdown until late in the third. It was over. With a team like the Chiefs, I'm never convinced that they're out of it. Okay? But there became a certain point when it was like, there's no chance in hell that these guys are coming back. And I'm stunned, to be honest with you. I knew going into this game, statistically and just talent-wise, I knew the Eagles were the better team. And that's not me being a biased Broncos fan that hates the Chiefs. That's me being an honest fan that understands the game. The Eagles had a better defense. The Eagles had better offensive, O-line is a big part. In the trenches, they have a better running game. They just had everything that was necessary. And they're aggressive. They go for it on fourth down a lot. They have a really good playbook. So do the Chiefs. The Chiefs have really good coaching. It's one reason why they're always so good, is the coaching. So it didn't necessarily surprise me, so to say, that the Eagles dominated. I was more surprised how bad the Chiefs looked. That they didn't look prepared at all. Mahomes threw 2 picks. One of them was a pick 6. Both of them were in the red zone on their own side of the field. And then he fumbled a ball later in the game, too. So 3 turnovers by Patrick Mahomes. The GOAT, the greatest of all time, the baby GOAT. Now, don't get me wrong. As much as I can't stand Patrick Mahomes, I'll give him his flowers. I understand that he's a great quarterback. He's done something that no quarterback's ever done. I don't think any quarterback's ever gone to 3 Super Bowls in a row. He's won 3 out of the last 6 years. Something like that. Is that correct? 5 years? Gone to... This is now their 5th Super Bowl that they've gone to in like 6 years? Impressive, man. Like, that's unreal. However, that was not GOAT status game. I mean, you have to go back, and this pains me, really. I can sympathize. I can sympathize with Chiefs fans and just dealing with a loss like that. Because you got to go back to 2013 when the Denver Broncos got pile-drived by the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl. That hurt me so badly. I cried real tears because, it was no doubt who the better team was. If it's a close game, you can say, this could have happened. We could have done this better. Little things here and there that you just are like, man, if only this would have happened, we might have had a chance. There was no chance in that game. And there was no chance in this game by the end. Like, they clearly were the better team. This is the first real blowout of a Super Bowl that we've seen in a while. Like I said, I'm pretty sure we got to go back to that Super Bowl where the Broncos got their ass kicked by the Seahawks. I think that was the last real big blowout. So I get it, dude. I sympathize. I understand. Now, did it feel good having the rival team get their asses kicked like that? Yes. Yes. You never want to see your own team do it. I'll watch somebody else do it all day, especially my least favorite team in the world. But, and there was actually quite a few Eagles fans at the bar. There was a couple Chiefs fans, not nearly as many as I'm used to seeing. Usually there's a lot more Chiefs fans, but there was, I met this guy. He was just from out of town, like he's in town for work. Chiefs fan, met him the night before for the UFC fights. He was just sitting at the bar. We were bullshitting, real nice guy. He's sitting up at the bar, like, he asked if they were going to show the game, of course. So he comes in on Sunday. He's sitting right next to us. Like I said, Chiefs fan, so we're kind of razzing each other a little bit. But, I'm being respectful. I'm not going to be a douche for your team, especially when they're getting their asses kicked. I love it. But I'm not going to rub it in somebody's face. Like, even my worst enemy of a team, I don't want to, like, hurt somebody's feelings unless they're being a prick. If he was being a prick back, I'm going to dish it back. But I'm not going to just go out of my way to hurt somebody's feelings when their team is, suffering. And part of me, I never thought I'd say this, part of me actually felt sympathy for Chiefs fans for this incredible loss. I mean, the fact that they weren't even remotely in it and just nothing was going right. Offensively, defensively, like I think they did get 1 turnover, but they didn't do anything with it. So nothing was going right for them. And that's hard to watch your team do. So I did feel an essence of sympathy. Nah, I'm just fucking kidding. Fuck the Chiefs. Fuck them. No. I'm flopping back and forth. I did have a sense of sympathy. Do I care? No. No. You just won back-to-back Super Bowls. This is your 5th Super Bowl in 6 years. You're fine, dude. You are fine. Like, if it was like a team like the Bills or the Lions, somebody who's never, who hasn't been to the Super Bowl in a very long time or ever, if they went to the Super Bowl and lost, I'd be heartbroken for them. Because they've never had that. And for Bills fans, some of them have never had it in their entire life. Obviously, Lions fans haven't. So I'm sympathetic towards that. The Chiefs can go suck a fuck. And the thing that kills me, it absolutely kills me, is that the Eagles fans are some of the worst degenerate pieces of shit in the entire sports world. So for me to have to root against the Chiefs, I gotta root for this other team and all their shit fans, now they get a bask in a Super Bowl. I hate that. That sucks. I am happy for Saquon Barkley. I'm happy for A.J. Brown. Happy for Jalen Hurts. Happy for Nick Sirianni. Like, there's not a lot of players on the Eagles team itself that I hate. But those fans, man, are the most insufferable group of fans. So for them to get to enjoy a championship, that part sucks. And for me, I got to go with the lesser of two evils here. So, therefore, we have the Eagles. And you know what? Good for Shane Gillis. Shane Gillis got a Super Bowl win. I could at least lean my hat on that. Notre Dame didn't win for him, but Philadelphia did. So you know what? We can lean on that. I did, when you're at the bar, you don't really get an opportunity to be able to, you don't get a chance to really hone in on the commercial side of it, because that's a huge thing is like Super Bowl commercials, halftime show. I couldn't really like focus on a lot of that stuff last night, but I did watch like the top 10 best commercials from this year's Super Bowl. I did watch the like just highlights of the halftime show. I didn't care that much about the halftime show. Kendrick Lamar, sounds like it was an alright performance. Sounds like it was very much like a political stunt, and also like obviously a huge jab at Drake. It just continues this Drake beef thing. But regardless, sounds like it was a decent halftime show. I don't care that much. Commercials, man, listen, the Super Bowl commercials have just been absolutely declining over the years. This year wasn't terrible. It didn't seem like it was overly forced. And there was a couple of good ones. So they did pretty decent this year, I'd say. My favorite one, and no surprise here, but not just because it was Coors Light, because it was legitimately the funniest one this year. It was the Coors Light ad where they had the sloths. It was like the Mondays, the case of the Mondays. And they're all moving slow, and just when the dude throws the beer and he's going to catch it and it just goes right over his head because he's slow. Dude, it was hilarious. That one took the cake for all the commercials, in my opinion. And yeah, the halftime show, I'll probably have to watch it more thoroughly, but just no interest in that. So it didn't really matter for me when it came to that aspect of it. Taylor Swift now knows what it's like to lose a Super Bowl. Ever since she's been in this shit, she has never had to feel the pain of defeat of a Super Bowl. And now she does. Now, losing a regular season game ain't shit. It don't mean nothing. When you lose a Super Bowl, it cuts deep. And I do believe this is the official decline of this Chiefs empire. They're still going to be good. Don't get me wrong. They're still going to be really good. They're always going to be a threat so long as Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are on that team. They'll always be good. I think this is the end of the line for Travis Kelce. I think Kelce's done. There's no need for him to continue on. He already has 3 Super Bowls, been to 5. He has tons of records as a tight end. He's, been on several Pro Bowl teams, all pro teams. He's a bona fide first ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt. He makes a shit ton of money in his podcast. He's dating one of the richest and most popular people in the world. He's got it made in the shade. I think the only reason he came back was to try and get that three-peat. And now that that's off the table, the only reason you come back is to get that sour taste out of your mouth of losing a Super Bowl. in either hopes of winning another one or making another run. So that's the only reason I would see him wanting to stick around. He's getting a little older, you know. I just don't think it's necessary for him to stick around any longer. Just from a monetary standpoint and like a legacy standpoint, he's set. And either way, even if he does come back, it's nearly impossible to do what they did and get to a third in a row, or to even go to as many as they have in this short time span. The likelihood that they go for 4 in a row, that's only been done twice. Or no. Did the Vikings do 4 in a row? I know the Bills did, and they lost all 4. It's so rare to even conceive of that happening, especially when you have so many other good teams in the AFC specifically. Plus, the Broncos are on a rise. The Chargers are on a rise. The division is getting difficult. I just don't foresee the Chiefs being able to maintain this status much longer. I think this is going to be the steady decline. I'm not saying it's going to be just an immediate drop-off, but I think we've seen the plateau. And I'm not even saying they won't win another Super Bowl or that they won't go to another Super Bowl eventually. Like, that's definitely on the table. I'm just saying I see this being like the height of this Chiefs empire, and it's going to be on the decline now. So those are my thoughts on the Super Bowl. Exactly what I wanted. Got exactly what I wanted, besides the Eagles winning. But in this event, fly, Eagles, fly, baby. Fly, Eagles, fly. They did it. And I hate even having to root for them. But the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Speaking of Kendrick Lamar, I have been dying to talk to you guys about the Grammys. It's been on my mind so much lately. Kendrick Lamar took home the most Grammys this year. First things first. I have always hated the Grammys. The Grammys are bullshit. It's never... The people winning aren't necessarily always the people that deserve to win. It's like the most popular people or the people that are like the industry darlings that get favoritism. Beyonce, wink, wink. Jay-Z. I didn't even realize, there's this whole conspiracy of like Jay-Z runs this like kind of like a cabal in the music industry, which that wouldn't shock me at all, but like that's why Kendrick did the halftime show and not Lil Wayne, because he kind of like dictates a lot of that shit. Like he's got a lot of power within the music industry. Didn't realize that he has the most Grammys for any rapper, which is insane because while he's fine, he's not that good. Beyonce, nothing against Beyonce. I don't care. But do you guys, does anybody out there with a brain legitimately think that she had the best country album of the year? Like, for real though. And I whenever I'm judging music like this, because this is one thing I do really care about and know a little bit about, is music. So I will always give a fair shake to artists if they're being awarded or if there's like controversy around them, people talking shit. I'm going to at least give a listen and be like, hey, is this necessary? Is this hate like earned? First of all, you've got people like Lainey Wilson, Chris Stapleton, hell, even Post Malone, who's not a country guy. She wasn't even the best pop star that was up for a country award. You have guys like Jelly Roll, who is more country, generally. You got like Post Malone, who stepped into a new field and definitely took it more seriously as a country album. The only one I really knew was that Texas Hold'em song, right? I've heard that one before. And it does have a very, like, country vibe. So I'm thinking if the rest of the album is more like that, it's somewhat understandable that she would even be nominated at all. I listened to snippets of each song. It's basically a pop album. How is it even remotely categorized as a country album? Maybe that one song is a country song, but that is not a country album. So first of all, she wins for Country Album of the Year. Ridiculous. Mind-boggling. And you wonder why the CMAs are just their own award show. Because they're not going to fuck over their own people. Like, the Grammys don't give a fuck about country. They don't give a fuck about metal, rock, none of that shit. You know who won Rock Album of the Year? The Rolling Stones. Like, you're going to give it to this old fucking band that's been around forever and ever and ever and has won all the awards, and you're not going to give a platform to a young up-and-coming band? Like, that's fucked up to me. The one thing they actually got right, and this is actually the first metal award that I have agreed with in years. Metal Performance of the Year went to Gojira for their performance at the Olympics, which 100% agree. Couldn't be happier about that. They nailed it for once. They never do, and they did. Now back to the country and Beyonce bullshit. So not only does she win country music or the country award, like I said, CMAs, they have their own shit because of this bullshit. Then she goes on to win Album of the Year, which coincidentally she's never won, and it's always this big deal that Beyonce's never won Album of the Year. Cowboy Carter is an abomination of an album. It sucks so fucking bad, bro. But on top of that, not only does the album just suck and doesn't deserve an award in general, you've got somebody like Billie Eilish, whose latest album has the most streams of any of those nominees, has the most viewed videos and like most downloads. It's made the most money. It's the most popular album. And you're not going to award that? Because you want to award this bitch that's, this queen bee fucking, sits on a fucking pedestal type hierarchy bullshit. That pisses me off so bad. Like, you know me, I love Billie Eilish. Like, she's my girl. So, of course, I'm going to defend her. It also pisses me off to know that Billie Eilish and her brother are the only two writers on all of her albums. All of her albums are only ever written by those two. You know how many writers were on Cowboy Carter? 71. I have no issue with collaboration. I have no issue with having multiple people help write a song and, having other musicians chime in and make stuff. If you have 71 writers and your album sounds like that hot garbage, what the fuck is going on? Like, how is that even possible? You have the most money of any musician, basically. You have all the resources in the world. How are you still creating garbage music with 71 artists on board? And that's me as a creator thinking like, dude, you got 71 people, like, you're not original. You're not doing the own work. If you're going to be a solo artist and Beyonce is the name of the fucking, the artist and the label and whatever it is that's being promoted, you better have more contribution to that shit, like Billie Eilish does. I appreciate that more. If you want to add like 4 or 5 other people, I don't care, dude. Like, that's fine. But 71, bro? Unbelievable. Breaks my heart for Billie Eilish because she deserved it. And even then, you got... Dude, can I just say something? Chapel Roan, I don't get it. I do not understand what everybody is seeing here. She's just like a shock value type, And you know what? I'm probably being a little bit too hard, okay? Because this is not my field of music that I enjoy listening to. I don't know a whole lot of her music. I'm sure there's plenty of good shit. But let me just say this, okay? I think my problem is that everybody, glazes over her like she's some, goddess. And I'm like, dude, she looks like Tiny Tim. If you don't know who Tiny Tim is, just go ahead and Google Tiny Tim. Not from the Christmas Carol, from the musician Tiny Tim. And at least that's what she looked like at the Grammys. That's what, because, these fucking artists, they're fucking eccentric, they're extravagant artists. So they have to dress like fucking dipshits. She looked like Tiny Tim, bro. It's ridiculous. And then Jaden Smith shows up in a house. Yeah, anyway. That's my Grammys rant. God. The gripeys. That's what I'm gonna start calling that shit. So dumb. Grammy, I'm trying to think of a good, what would be a good pun here about the Grammys. Yeah. It irritates me as somebody who's a huge fan of music to see time after time after time people getting fucked over. And it's not even because they're not deserving of it. It's because they're not on this high pedestal. They're not industry darlings. Now, I know Billie Eilish won a bunch of Grammys a couple years back, so she's been awarded. But when it's so blatantly in your face, she has the most downloads and streams, does that not mean people like that? How is that not indicative of being awarded? Just confuses me, I guess. In other news, now, a lot of this shit is older because it's been a while since I recorded, and a lot of shit has happened since then. As far as solo episodes go, where I can actually talk about more of this shit. I gotta give you my piece on this Luka Doncic trade to LA. Because speaking of teams that I fucking hate, aside from the Kansas City Chiefs, the LA Lakers are my Chiefs of NBA. I absolutely hate the Los Angeles Lakers. And so for them to just get gift wrapped this young star, like a 25-year-old prodigy, he's not even in his prime yet, for them to just be given that. And the fact that the Mavericks there's so much about this that makes no sense to me. And I am calling conspiracy immediately. First of all, why would you trade? First of all, let's just start from the beginning. Why would you trade a 25-year-old anomaly of a player? One of the best basketball players in the world. It's basically Jokic, Giannis, and Luka. Those are the top three best players. Luka scored 70 points in a game last year. He got them to an NBA championship. They didn't win, but it was solely because of him that they made it to the championship. So first of all, you just don't trade a generational talent like that. Ever. And if you are going to be so stupid as to do so, you definitely don't want to trade him within the conference. You don't want to trade him to a team that you're going to have to be competing with to get to the NBA championship. But they did. They went ahead and did that. You're also trading him to one of the biggest markets in the NBA. So, not only is that suspicious in itself, it's stupid. And then to top it all off, if you're going to be so stupid as to not only trade a generational talent and to trade them to a rival team, like a team that you're going to have to compete against in your own conference, you should at least get an absolute haul of draft picks. But no, they got one single first-round draft pick. They got Anthony Davis, who is still a good player. He ain't no Luka. That's not an equivalent. You need to package a superstar player like Anthony Davis, who, by the way, is hurt already. Then you have to pack, you're going to, maybe a couple of role players. They got one other guy, the Mavericks did. And then you have to add some, multiple first-round draft picks and second-round picks. They could have got 6 first-round draft picks for Luka and another 5 second-round picks. That's how valuable that fucking player is. So I'm sitting here thinking, what in God's name is the motivation to do this, right? Like, why? Because they keep saying all this bullshit about, like, his conditioning isn't great, his defense isn't great. All that shit is just bogus. And it's easy things that you can fix. So, my first thought was, the ownership or the GM just absolutely hates Luka. Like, they have some issue with him that they could not resolve. But even still, you can get rid of the guy, but just get what you deserve. Get the draft picks, get the players, like get something to replace him with. They didn't do that. So then I'm thinking, I heard rumors that they were actually thinking about moving the team out of Dallas, and there's no precedent for a team to relocate so long as they are competitive. So that was one conspiracy, that they were, tanking the team in order to be able to move them. And then I'm starting to think, maybe Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, brought this trade to attention to make it so that first of all, the NBA, the ratings are at an all-time low as of late. So this would be a huge move for them just to get some notoriety and be talking about them. But then you're adding a superstar player to not only pair with LeBron, the number one player in the league, but to play on the number one market in the league. So it does seem likely that they could have done all this just to boost ratings. And that somehow, some way, the Mavericks are going to be compensated behind closed doors. The stupidest thing is, the Mavs are going to lose so much money from this move. Like, the fans will never trust them. Like, they hate them. They've already refunded tons of season tickets. People are burning their jerseys. They're protesting outside the stadium. They're not going to pay money for these guys. Like, they're going to lose so much money. And the amount of money you're going to lose in merchandising alone from not having Luka on the team is, like, unfathomable. To even think that you would even try to lose out on that money without getting compensation. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, what's the purpose here? Like, why? None of it makes sense to me. Now, the other thing that did happen to come to my mind, here's my hot take on all this. Forget the motivation or the motive. Forget the trying to make sense of all this. Here's my hot take moving down the line. Luka Doncic just missed out on an opportunity to sign a Supermax extension. That was another talk, was that they weren't willing to pay him all that money. And because of this trade, he is now ineligible for the Supermax. He can sign an extension, but he will not be he'll be missing out on about $120 million that he was going to have available to him. So now he doesn't have any incentive to sign a long-term contract monetarily. Monetarily, he has no incentive to do so. His contract is up after next year. He has the rest of this year and all of next year under contract. In order for him to get the most amount of money possible, he would have to wait for that contract to expire, and then he could sign a new deal. There's really not a lot of incentive for him to stay in LA. Besides the fact that they are like a historic franchise, that they do aggressively get, free agents and stuff like that. LeBron's not going to be around for very much longer. Like, I can see where they're going to, like, the Lakers would attempt to be trying to build a team around Luka as the centerpiece. And that's, definitely makes sense. Why wouldn't you? Mavericks, why wouldn't you? And I'm sure they'll pay him anything he wants. He is, in LA, you're going to have to pay those high taxes. That's going to suck. As a European player, I don't think he's motivated heavily on like this star-studded lifestyle, this lavish luxury lifestyle of LA. And like, that doesn't feel like his style, right? It's not one of those like dreams of like that most American kids would have growing up, just dreaming to be on the Lakers. I don't think they have that same motivation coming from Europe. So here's my thought. Here's my take, okay? Luka does not sign an extension before his deal is up. And rather than sign with the Lakers, he chooses to go sign somewhere that he knows he can win a championship. He signs somewhere that is definitely going to pay him all the money. And goes and plays with one of his best friends and somebody he really cares about, Nikola Jokic. My hot take is that Luka Doncic, because I also think Luka's pissed off. Like, I think he's really, like, crushed and pissed off about this move. Not just from the Mavericks, but also from the Lakers. The fact that they were so secretive about it. I think there's something about this trade that actually rubs Luka the wrong way from both sides. He strikes me as the type of guy that he would rather go play with his friend, who is another superstar. By that time, I do believe the Jamal Murray thing would be pretty much done. Imagine Luka Doncic, and we wouldn't have to trade anything either. We'd have to cut some money because, it's going to cost a lot of money and you got to have cap space. So you cut Jamal Murray. You might end up having to cut Michael Porter Jr. Or you trade Michael Porter Jr. because he's under contract. Get rid of his salary. Keep a guy like Aaron Gordon. Keep Christian Brown. A lot of these young guys. You get compensation for Michael Porter. And then you sign Luka Doncic. And you have two of the top 3 best players in the world on the same team. That would be a dynasty. If you put the right role players around them, and you keep Michael Malone as a great head coach, it's a dynasty. They would win. They would probably three-peat if they had those two guys and a cast of role players. Dude, they would have an absolute dynasty. Three-peat defeat. That's what I should have said earlier. Three-peat defeat. I like that. Anyway, so that's my hot take over the Luka thing. I think I could see that happening. Now, I could also see, the Lakers convincing him to stay in LA, and it wouldn't shock me in the least if he chose to stay there. But either way, he's not signing an extension until his contract's up. Then he will sign a new deal. Because it monetarily makes more sense for him to do it like that. So, we'll see. we will see in a year and a half. I would love it if Jokic was like having conversations with him behind closed doors, or like calling him on the phone and being like, hey man, like, what do you think of this idea down the line? And then the Nuggets like ultimately make moves from now to then to prepare for that. Like they could slowly start preparing to have Luka come on board. Oh, it would be so satisfying too for that trade to blow up in the Lakers' face. Like they'll have him for a year and a half. He'll get to play with LeBron. He'll get to do all that. He'll get to have some time in LA. That'd be the best thing that could happen is that in his year and a half in LA, he just fucking hates it. And like he wants out. On the opposite hand, I could see him staying and loving it and then being like, I never want to leave. So that's also possible. Not going to be like that if it keeps burning to the ground. Let's wrap this up here with a couple more things I just want to talk about. Dude, this U.S. aid thing with like all this tax pay. I'm going to go pay my taxes like right as soon as I'm done recording this. I'm going to pay my taxes. Like I have an appointment to do so today. The fact that all this, like we've always known. I think everybody's pretty much known that there's been government corruption. There's been like bullshit allocation of money. But to the level that it is, and to some of these ridiculously stupid programs that we're sending money to, like Sesame Street in Iraq and DEI in India and fucking like, dude, honestly, I have a hard time being able to tell which of these are actually real or just some bullshit made up stuff that people are just like joking about. If some of that shit is real though, like I saw one that was like balloon animal train, like to tie balloon animals. You know, I can't tell if is that a joke? Did somebody make that shit up? Or is that a legit thing that was in a legal document and like they were sending hundreds of millions of dollars to fund that? It's unbelievable. And the fact that all these politicians are like, this is madness, like they're allowing these people security clearances that they shouldn't be having, and Elon Musk he was never elected and he's infiltrating our government. Dude, it's because anybody who's confused about that, it's pretty plain and simple. They're losing money. Like all this taxpayer money that's going to all these bullshit programs, you don't think that they're siphoning money off of those things? You think there's really like $100 million of money, of taxpayer money, going to make a Sesame Street in Iraq? Maybe that is true, but you know it's bullshit like that they're just siphoning money off the top. And it's going to lobbyists, or it's going to fucking special interests, and ends up in the pockets of these fucking politicians. You know it to be true. So of course they're going to get pissed. They're losing out on their bottom dollar now. After we had to lose out on ours. And don't get me wrong. I fully believe that there are programs that I'm sure USAID does have that are legitimate, that do help people, and I'm okay with that. Like, I have no problem with that. But all these stupid ones, get rid of them. Do you know how much money we could be spending on helping our veterans? And even if those programs already exist, put more money towards that. Use them to help people who need food stamps, who need, you want to talk about Medicaid or Medicare for all? But you're spending all this money on Sesame Street or balloon animals or whatever? And everybody wants to bitch about not having socialized medicine. I agree that we should. So why are we using this money for stupid stuff when we could be putting it towards something like that? You know? It's unreal. And we knew, everybody's known there are like deep levels of government corruption. But to see it coming to life, and to at least know that this administration is doing something to fucking counteract that. I mean, obviously, if they're out after this, it's probably just going to go back to the same way. But dude, they will. If we as taxpayers start making more money because our tax dollars are going to, if we'd have to pay less in taxes because we don't have to fund this stupid shit anymore, no American is going to vote Democrat again. Because they're proving all this corruption, and they're proving that the tax system is rigged against us, and that we could be making way more money as a country. So that was just stunning to me, was seeing that U.S. aid thing and just seeing some of this like ridiculous allocation of money to just, it's really baffling to see it. So that was one thing I definitely wanted to talk about too. What else? Oh, Valentine's Day is coming up. Yay! Gotta love Valentine's Day. Pink, red, every store is just... Dude, I'm gonna level with you guys. I talk shit on Valentine's Day every year when it's coming up. But let's be serious for a minute. Rather than me talking shit, let me just ask one legitimate question. Why and how is Valentine's Day so popular? Like, I know it's a fake holiday. It was created by the Hallmark industry to sell cards. Like, I know all that. It's a bogus fucking holiday. It's for, chocolate companies to make money on candy, and for, and I get the concept of, like, love, like, we're recognizing love. But do we need, like, first of all, we don't even, it's a completely unnecessary holiday in general. You could do that shit every day of the week. I mean, you could say the same thing about Mother's Day, Father's Day. They're bogus holidays that we don't need to have a day dedicated to that. It's nice to have recognition of it, but you don't need to have it could be a recognized thing, but it doesn't need to be like this celebrated holiday. I've never understood. I mean, first of all, the purpose of Valentine's Day, but the thing that boggles my mind is the popularity of it. I mean, at least Easter is a religious holiday, so it makes sense. You get all the Easter baskets and stuff. Like, there's obviously, like, corporate, capitalistic intentions with these holidays, too, to make money and sell merchandise and shit like that. But it's like, like I said, at least with Easter, it's a religious holiday. Like St. Patrick's Day, you really don't see it get super, not to the extent of like Valentine's Day. Same with like, Cinco de Mayo, even New Year's. Like New Year's isn't as like plastered all, you'll see little stuff here and there, but it's not like Valentine's Day. I just can't believe the level of, I mean, I guess maybe because Valentine's Day is more of like a, purchasing stuff and giving gifts to people than it is than like those other holidays I mentioned. Those aren't really gift-giving holidays or card-worthy holidays. But man, I just don't get it. I mean, the only holiday more useless than Valentine's Day is one that we just had, Groundhog's Day. I honest to God, we live in 2025. We'll never understand why we still do this stupid holiday. Like, I can see why it was fun back in the day, but it is the most asinine bullshit I've ever seen. You got this fucking rat comes out of his hole, Puxatawny Phil, and everybody's dressed like they're colonials. Everyone's dressed in top hats and like stupid. They got their beards cut all stupid and old school. And it's like, what is this? Like, why are we doing this? We have meteorologists now. We don't have to rely on the fucking, on this rodent, this mongrel, to try and tell us we got 6 more weeks of winter. Also, by the way, fuck that little asshole, because he was right. We still have 6 more weeks, apparently, because we're just getting absolutely douched with snow lately. So fuck that little rabbit. Rabbit. No, fuck that. What are they actually? Are they a marmot? Is that what they are? Fuck that little marmot. Varmint, actually, that's what he is. Fuck that little varmint for casting this curse upon us. It's just like, why? Why are we sticking to this old bullshit tradition that it's nothing. It makes no sense. Who's actually watching it? People in Pennsylvania? Go! They will attend this like it is a parade event. It blows my mind that it's still a thing. And like I said, we live in the most technological time in the world. Obviously, it's not a legit thing. It's like a traditional thing that they're doing. They're not doing it to try and actually know if we have 6 more weeks of winter. It's just a traditional thing. But hey, guess what, dude? Sometimes tradition can just die. We don't need to do ridiculous shit like this. Let's get rid of Valentine's Day and let's get rid of fucking Groundhog's Day. Because they're both fucking stupid. There you go. There you go. And that's that. I guess I will say one more thing about, dude, that plane crash that happened in DC. Worst nightmare for me. Like, I already hate flying as it is. The only thing I can say is I hope this accident, because this is the first time a commercial airplane in the United States has gone down since, like, I think 2008 or something like that. 2009 maybe. So generally, like, airplanes are still very, very safe. But man, oh man, like, that is legitimately one of my biggest fears, is the idea of anything like that happening. So I'm hoping the best case scenario out of all this is that it's got the FAA and all these fucking, all the airline companies, like, just locked in. And, like, this will not happen. So, because I got a couple flights coming up this year, and I don't plan on that being the end of my days, is dying on a goddamn airplane. Because that's just literally fear fuel. Like, one of my worst fears. So, yeah, I just wanted to point that out because that was another old news thing that happened, and I never got a chance to actually talk about it. All right, that'll do it for us this week. Thank you all so very much for listening. As always, super happy that the Kansas City Chiefs lost, but also, this marks the end of the football season. So super sad that football season's done. Like, what am I going to do with my Sundays now? I mean, I'm going to be lost. I won't know what to do with myself. Yeah, it's always a hard time when football season's over. But we got basketball now. Hockey. So still got plenty of stuff to look forward to and watch. Remember, do not live with regret. We do regrettable things. We say regrettable things. There's things that we wish we would have done differently. Don't live in that regret. Don't dwell on it. It's just going to poison you. Learn from it. Make changes from what you've learned. And it'll all be good. But most importantly, don't forget, life's a garden. Dig it. Just gotta keep on